Hello, 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 Chit Chat Pod, and welcome back to another episode of Chit Chat Pod. And this month, we are kicking off Women History Month. I introduced you guys to that last week as I told you that we some guests that come on, and we will be highlighting some of our guests who've done some contributions to society, to the things that they're doing in their professions. And today, it's one of those days. And so we're highlighting Women History Month on today from a political review, from a political view. And we have a special guest, one of my friends who I enjoyed getting to know once she was up for reelection a year and a half ago, actually. And so we've bonded with a relationship, and I'm just so super proud of the things that she's doing and the contributions that she's given back to her community and to her political party when she's out there, doing the hustle and bustle, trying to get you guys educated on voting and educated on your rights. And super excited about highlighting her for one of our Women History Month interviewees and respected people that should be highlighted for the contributions that she's doing, not only for her community, but for, her personal life with her sorority and other things that she do. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Miss Shanita Howell. Welcome to Chit Chat Pod, Miss Shanita Wilkerson Howell. I got to get used to saying Howell because congratulations on the new nuptials.
Thank you.
On the recent nuptials. I'm so excited. I know that you guys have been dating for a long time, so it's excited to see that you guys went ahead and did the thing, and now we get to call my girl Mrs. Howell now. She done married her beau.
That's right, and he is wonderful.
I know. I love seeing y'all together. I love seeing y'all love and everything. And I love how you love him too. So I wanted to bring you on. This is Women History Month, this whole entire month for the March observation. And I want to highlight you as one of our women that, I felt like there was gave a great contribution to her community and society, and the things that you're doing, not only from the political side, but things you do on the personal side. And I wanted to let our podcast get to know who Miss Shanita Wilkerson Howell is. So can you give us a background of your bio, Miss Howell?
Sure. I am Shanita Wilkerson Howell. I was born and raised in Fort Valley, Georgia. Folk Valley, for those who know, which is in Peach County, where I am a county commissioner for Post 2. I am the commissioner over the area that I was born and raised in. I take it as a great privilege and honor to sit in the seat that my uncle once sat in, who was our Peach County commissioner for Post 2 when I was a little girl. And he did some really amazing things. I've had a few people tell me, like, if you're half the commissioner he was, you'll do fine, because he really was a great guy as a commissioner. But I am the wife of Vince Howell, who I love and adore, as Shan mentioned. I'm the mother to two boys. My oldest son has actually done a career change, and he's actually on Paris Island right now as we speak, becoming a U.S. Marine. And my youngest son is honorably discharged and medically retired from the United States Army. My oldest son went to Morehouse College. My youngest son went to Fort Valley State College. I'm very proud of those two young men. They are wonderful people. I hear a lot of people give flack to Gen Z and the millennials and everything, but I have to say that my sons are wonderful, and they give me a lot of hope in their generations. I'm also the oldest of six. My mom and dad had six children. We all have names that start with SH. We're Shanita, Sean, Sherrod, Shayla, Sharonda, and Shaquez. And I'm very proud of them as well. I'm the daughter of Sean Wilkerson and Brenda Wilkerson. My two parents who set they're divorced and they've set a wonderful example to me and my siblings of how to parent after divorce. I mean, they are legendary for how well they get along and how they keep us together as a family, whether they're together or not. So I'm very proud of that as well. The granddaughter of Chester Wilkerson Sr. and Annie Pearl Wilkerson. I also have grandparents on my mother's side, but I'm not so sure that people in our listening audience would know who they are because they lived in Miami. My mom was born in Miami. I went to Savannah State University where I majored in mass communications. And I am a very proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I'm currently in the Fort Valley Alumni chapter, where I'm very proud to serve because that is a chapter that my grandmother served in, Annie Pearl Wilkerson, who's now deceased. I was initiated in the dynamic Delta Nu chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, housed at Savannah State University. Like I said earlier, I am a Peach County Commissioner for Post 2. I'm also very active and involved in the Democratic Party. I serve as the state committee member for Peach County Democratic Committee. I also serve on the candidate recruitment team for the Democratic Party of Georgia and a host of other things. But, this bio is getting kind of long, so I'm going to cut it off right there. I think that's enough.
Look, and that's why you're so worthy to even be honored this month from our podcast, because there's just a sheet of things that we can list that you are doing, that you're participating in, that you're partaking in, or whatever. And my hat is off to you because, I mean, you're a busy woman and you do all of it without complaining, without hesitation. Anything that people need, you to hit, put boots on the ground and get running. Commissioner Howell is there to do it. Like you're the first one to say, no, I'll take that stand and do it. So you definitely put action in a verbatim state because you're like always moving, always doing, and being active. And we love to see that, especially with our elected officials that we elect. We like to see that our votes are being actively moving and worked on our behalf. And you're definitely doing that, sis. So I just want to give my hat off to you for that, because as a person who lived in Post 2 and also helped, when it was time for your reelection, we was out there doing our thing, holding signs and doing everything to make sure that you got reelected, because we knew that you was the best choice for Post 2. And it was exciting. It was exciting, but just to see the support and the things that you do, your hands on, even with, people working for you for your election campaign and all that, you're still very active with all of that. So my hat is off to you and give you a round of applause for that. So our Women History Month theme for 2024 is women who advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I was like, she's the epitome of that. Because, I mean, if you talk to her, there's not a conversation that you won't hear from her where she's talking about equity, diversity, or inclusion, because you're so adamant about that. Not only just for women, but you're adamant about that for people of color and for all people. When you feel that people are being slighted for any reason or whatever, you're going to go to bat for those people. So let's talk about that theme. What does that theme mean to you as a woman, and then as a person in your position who advocate that on a daily basis?
It actually means the world to me, because I feel like, when we look at our society, we've seen a lot of privileges and concessions made for one group of people. Mm-hmm. And I'm just here to make sure that we include everybody. We recently had a situation on my board where we were having a committee selected, and I really wasn't pleased with how the committee was selected or the makeup of the committee, the demographics of it. And I was advocating that, we send this message out to the community so that the community can volunteer and we
Mhm.
can get people from everywhere. For whatever reason, it got turned around and nobody really understood fully what I was saying.
Mhm.
Um, and it turned into, well, let's just add some more black people to it. No, that's not what I was advocating for. Because Peach County also has a big Hispanic population. We
Mhm.
Asians, Middle Easterners. We have a lot of people and they contribute to this county. So if we're okay, so the committee was for us to celebrate our 100 years as a county. We are the youngest county in Georgia and we'll be turning 100 this year. So we're very excited about that and celebrating that. But in the creation of this county, in the evolution of this county, in the work of this county, the history of this county, everything has included everybody. So I feel like there should be multiple seats at this table, and those seats should be occupied by the people who make Peach County what it is. One group of people does not make Peach County what it is. Two groups of people doesn't make Peach County what it is. Everything is not black and white. Again, we have other people in this community. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone had a seat at that table and that as we celebrated ourselves as a county that's entering into our first century, well, that's, culminating our first century, I wanted to make sure that all of those who have helped make this happen, all of the people who are business owners who may not be black, may not be white, the people who live here, go to school here, provide services here, that they are all included. And that is still my goal for everything that we do here, for everything that I do.
And I think that's important because it helps to eliminate all the biases and the discrimination from individuals, from institutions, like you said, from businesses, because you got a lot of small business owners, especially in small rural towns, such as Peach County or Fort Valley, Georgia. You want to make sure that those people are included in the talks and the topics that's going on in the county because their business matter, whatever they're contributing to the community with whatever business or institution that they're own, or whatever they're contributing, their feedback and their support matters. So eliminating those biases and those discrimination is very important. And I want to say keep pushing,
I
for and speaking up for those who don't have that voice or don't be in those meetings where their voice can be heard. So definitely keep doing that. And I know yesterday was International Women's Day, and so happy International Women's Day.
International
So
Women's Period.
I know I didn't realize how celebrated International Women's Day was because it falls in the month of Women's History Month.
Right.
But up here, since I've been up here in DC, there's been a lot of celebratory things, brunches, lunches, and different things that goes on for International Women's Day, for Women's History Month. So it's so much to take in and be a part of. But for International Women's Day, they had a theme that I wanted to bring up to you that I totally love. Their theme for 2024 is invest in women, accelerate progress. And I said that speaks volumes because if you're investing in women, I mean, I know that women have made some major contributions and achievements and accomplishments thus far, but we still got a long ways to go. There's still some fight, with gender equality and pay and all those kind of things that we're still fighting behind the scenes for. But
As well as women's reproductive health, that's a major issue right now. So it's
yes.
been a major issue for decades at this point, which is really sad. We should really be over that and have inclusion in the healthcare world. We need to have all of our health needs addressed, just like men have all of their health needs addressed.
Yes, and we're gonna bring that up. I'm gonna bring that up in a few minutes because we're gonna talk about the election stuff. So that's gonna be one of my questions for the election stuff. But investing in women, I just think that is so important because how can you even thrive as a business or a corporation or organization now without investing in women? I think, because women have progressed so much now as leaders, as CEOs, as business owners, we are leading the way on a lot of things right now that we're not even pretty much getting a whole lot of credit for, people not hearing a whole lot of things about. But that thing just speaks volumes to me. Invest in women, accelerate progress. Like if you're trying to move forward, in anything you're trying to do, whether it's your business, your or corporation, your organization, and then one of the major things that you're gonna have to do is invest in women. Women are key in their organizational skills and their management skills and handling things business wise. So it's imperative that people start incorporating that idea and that thought and that theme, invest in women, because it's highly important. What's your take on that?
Oh, it's very important to me. I'm someone who actually celebrates the differences in men and women. It's so, I find it kind of odd, now that women are talking about, oh, I want to be in my soft era and all this stuff. And up here thinking, girl, I've been striving for that since I've been alive. I'm
Right.
all about the soft life for women. But the soft life does not mean that you do not work and work hard at doing things in your communities, in your homes, or whatever. The soft life is basically just self care, taking care of yourself, and just not overdoing it and taking too much away from yourself. You talked about investing in women. We have to invest in ourselves as well. So it means a lot to me. And when I think about the portion that talks about accelerating progress, again, I celebrate the differences in men and women. I see men as problem solvers. We're problem solvers too, but they're problem solvers on a different level. They're kind of cut and dry, or they tend to be. They get to the crux of the matter. Whereas women, we're going to take the scenic route and we're going to get to the heart of the matter. Problem's still going to get solved, just in a different way. And because I think that there are so many nuances to the problems of the world and the needs of people, I think that it's important to have women and men. And since it's Women's History Month, though, I really want to talk about how important it is to have women, solving these problems, bringing ideas to the table, bringing a woman's perspective to so many issues so that we can accelerate progress. Going back to the reproductive health, there are so many things outside of just, and I hope I don't sound harsh when I say this, but I think that specifically the abortion issue is always presented as, oh, you're killing babies. And it's honestly so much more than that. It really is a women's health issue. That's not discounted that there may be people who are, as they say, killing babies, to sound harsh. But there are other medical reasons that abortion is so important. And when we think about those medical reasons, a lot of people focus on the physical health, but there are even mental health reasons why we need it. And we cannot discount that. We, as women, need to advocate for our health, our reproductive rights, our reproductive health, and we need to advocate it to these predominantly white men who tend to be in leadership. I think it's ridiculous that someone who does not even have these organs are making all of these decisions about what we do with them. That's absolutely ludicrous. I've never seen anything about male organs on a ballot anywhere. I've never seen
Right.
anything about male organs come up as discussions in the halls of Congress, or under the gold dome in Georgia, or anywhere.
Right.
It never comes up because whatever it is that men need, these men who are making all of the decisions, they're going to make sure that it's there.
Right.
So I feel obligated to advocate for us as women.
And And I hear you on that because I remember a time when I served in the military, and I was in a predominantly male dominating career field. And every time that I had an appointment, I felt like my superior always questioned, like,
Yeah,
you got another appointment? Well, gosh, you got an appointment? And it would aggravate me to the point where I was like, first of all, it's none of his business what I got an appointment about.
that's
And secondly, it would be like, what you got going on now? You got another appointment? So because he was so adamant about like almost not guaranteeing me going to my appointment or giving me that right to go to my appointment, I start making, if it was an OBGYN appointment, I started embarrassing him with it. So when you want to know, this is what I'm going to the OBGYN doctor.
yeah.
She has to do a PAP, sir. Yeah. So if you getting that intense in my business, then I'm going to put you on Front Street and let it be uncomfortable for the both of us. So then when we have that necessary conversation to the next level of command, then I'll have to tell them how you invading my privacy
That's right.
because you don't have the right to tell me what my appointment's about because you don't know what's going on with me and my body.
That's
And
right.
so, but that reminds me of that because, women, we do have to advocate for ourselves because men have no idea. And
That's
because I dealt with that personally, I know men don't care. They don't care they don't care about you got, you have a baby. They think we're supposed to pop out babies and get right on back to work.
that's
Our body takes time to heal. And then
oh,
we got to have that bonding time with that child when we just spit out a child. We got to have that bonding time with that child. It ain't time for me to have a baby and get back in the office or get back to work right away.
and not only that physical healing, but that mental healing as well, because
Yes.
so many of us suffer from things like postpartum depression, and we just go through so many changes. It's a psychological change becoming a mother, even
Mhm.
if you're already a mother. I became a mother very early. I had my oldest son before his dad and I got married, but I had the youngest son after his dad and I got married. And the thing is, both of those were still really big mental changes for me because going from a mother of one, to two, that's
Right.
a huge difference. That is
Mhm.
a huge difference. Most people probably wouldn't think so, but it took a psychological toll on me because at this point, not only do I have this other child that I'm taking care of, in addition to the first child, because I'm married, I'm also trying to take care of their daddy and try,
Right.
and it's no shade against men or specifically their dad, but also trying to pretend like I can do it all flawlessly. And we just cannot. There's
Yeah.
a help that's needed when we become mothers. There's a lot of help that's needed, when we become wives. Just there's so many things where women need assistance and we just are not supported because I think a lot of men grew up seeing their moms do it all, and they make this assumption that this is just something we can do. A lot of them, I think, didn't see their mom crying about what she couldn't do. They didn't see their mom focusing on what went undone or how hard it was to do the things that she was able to do. So I think that there is a lot of superwoman attributes attached to women that just are not there. We are tired.
Exactly.
Yes,
Look, tired, tired, tired.
absolutely.
Yeah, and you made a good point earlier when you spoke about self-care. When you was talking about us, taking care of us so that way we can advocate and take care of our mental, our physical, and other areas that we're advocating for women health and all that. So self-care is so important for women, especially women like yourself who are wearing so many hats and doing so many things. And I hope that you're taking the opportunity and you get you have your self-care moments and you taking care of self, because a lot of times we get we get so busy with the hustle and bustle of the many titles that we wear, mom, sister, wife, auntie, whoever, and we're going with the flow of things, and we're just running. Sometimes we're running on fumes. And by the time we realize that, hey, I need to take care of myself, sometimes the check engine light comes on and we don't ran out of, time, and we got to, either God got to sit us down or something sits us down for a minute. And, but we got to be conscious of providing self-care for ourselves so that we're not pouring from an empty space or an empty place. So I'm going to let you speak on that because you brought that up earlier. How important is that you would advocate for women like yourself and others who are wearing many hats and doing different roles, the importance of self-care and taking care of self?
It's very important. You mentioned earlier about helping with my campaign, and a lot of people didn't know that during that time I was actually going through a health scare myself. And, regardless of that health scare, I was still expected to be in all these different places, as people put it, because they just want to see your face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind doing those things, but I really needed to take care of myself. I really did. But I did neglect my health for a bit, and it came to haunt me. So I had to sit down a little while. And because of that, I have slowed down a lot as far as showing up to everything and pushing myself. When I hear my body say, give me a moment, I give my body a moment. If I hear my body say, you know what, you're doing too much, I, I slow down. I no longer push myself to the limits that I pushed myself before. Work is still done. I'm still able to do work, but I've had to pace myself, and I really had to scale how I go about doing the work of a commissioner, how I work in my professional life. I didn't mention this in the bio, but professionally, I sell insurance. I'm an insurance salesman. So I have to scale all those things because I'm being pulled in a lot of different directions. And it's okay. I do not mind being pulled, but just know that when you pull and I don't come, it's because I need to take a moment. And I'm going to take that moment. I've been very, very nice to myself for about 2 years now, and I'm so proud of myself for that. I've been very kind to myself. And my husband is a huge proponent of, you sure you want to do that? You might need to just sit down, you know. And he does not push me. Sometimes I feel like he doesn't push me enough, but he really does let me relax and just be, who I need to be in the moment. If that moment calls for me to be restful, he allows that. If I need to be action oriented, or as he says, glued to the phone, he allows that, with no pushback. So I'm appreciative of that. I haven't always been in a situation where I had someone supporting me to take care of myself. And, being a second voice in my ear saying, hey, maybe you ought to slow down. A lot of times he does echo my own conscience, my own sense of reason, so I'm very appreciative of that. I can't hear you.
And that's good that you have that support, because sometimes as women, we're hard-headed, and we're like, okay, I can do another thing. That's just another. I'll add that to the calendar or whatever. And before you know it, we're just all out. And because he's your sounding board and he's there saying, hey, maybe you need to sit this one out, or maybe you need to rest or whatever. I'm glad that you have that. And that way, when you feel like, no, I probably can go a little bit extra, but hearing him say that because he's with you and he knows the capacity that you're able to give, and he knows that you want to be able to give 100% at what you're giving, and he sees the capacity level that you're moving and driving from. If he see that you need to, maybe sit something down, I'm glad that you have that as a sounding board for you. So we're going to move on to election. And before we close up this interview, this is an election year. So this it's
And
an important
you said this
election year.
is an election year. You know what? Whether people know it or not, every year is an election year.
You're right. You're right.
Here.
You're right. But I have not felt the intensity of an election like I have with this one. I know that my job, we've been doing some things behind the scenes because, we've been trying to get a budget passed and all this kind of stuff. And of course, our big boss, was impeached by Congress there. And plus, just going through all of the things that election year can bring about. As a commissioner and someone who's involved in elections, and you get to see some of the political fights and the political things that happen in the political arena of candidates and the parties. What's your thought on how important this election is this year and how people need to be tuned in into making sure that they're registered to vote, they're out there hitting the primaries and making a vote count?
So it's very important, not just this year, but every year, because one of the huge mistakes that I think some of us make is we get excited about the presidential election and, we choose our sides and we go hard for our person and we go out there and we vote. Some of us campaign, make phone calls or whatever. Mm-hmm. But this is the thing. If your person gets in, your person is going to need support. So that's why it's important that, on those election cycles when it's not necessarily presidential, you still go and vote. I'm elected at the local level, and my election is always during the gubernatorial race. It is important that you vote all the way down the ballot and not just at the top. When it's time for me to run, it's important that you don't just vote for the governor. It's important that you vote all the way down to where I am, where the school board is, where there may be a local issue on the ballot. Like right now, we're still in the presidential preference primary here in Georgia. Tuesday is election day, so they just wrapped up early voting yesterday. We have a question on the ballot as a county, and it just requires a simple yes or no answer. The question is about whether the citizens would like to allow retail alcohol sales in the county, not in the city limits, but outside of the city limits in the county. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a very important question. Some people may look at it through the eyes of their own personal morality and say, well, we don't need another liquor store. This really isn't about another liquor store. What this is about is your tax dollars.
Yes.
If you purchase alcohol or not, alcohol is being purchased. And those people who live in the rural areas of Peach County, so a lot of times they're crossing the county line to purchase their alcohol, and they're paying an alcohol tax in an area that
they don't reside in.
Yeah, that they don't even reside in.
Mm-hmm.
Those tax dollars are taking care of someone else. I'm advocating that we keep those tax dollars in Peach County, because when we're able to have more sales tax dollars and other sources of revenue, we're actually able to roll back your millage rate. We're actually able to do a rollback so that you're not paying as much in property tax. So if you're going to be buying alcohol anyway, or if your cousin's going to be buying alcohol anyway, you might as well buy it in Peach County, where we can take advantage of those taxes and support our kids in school, support ourselves as citizens, and provide some of these services at a less expensive rate.
I agree. And I'm glad that you said that about voting down the ballot, because a lot of times we miss some of those elections, that's within a county, the city, or whatever, because we figure I did the big election, I got the big guy in kind of thing, and people don't show up. You have slow pollings and low poll ratings, after that, because people feel like I showed up for the big one.
Yeah.
whatever. And then they forget to show up for those. But they got to realize voting down the ballot, those people who are working at the bottom of the ballot are working for those that's up at the top. And so, and that's our votes speaking and advocating for us. And
Yeah.
so it's important. I'm glad that you said that, because it's important that people need to know that they need to be
Mhm.
active in every part of the election.
I wanted to say one more thing about that as well.
Okay.
So when we're electing our federal officials, whether it's president, Congress, or Senate, we're basically electing people who are going to allocate dollars, and a lot of those dollars fall into your local communities. So
Mhm.
if you feel a certain way about how those dollars are spent, and you are voting for a certain party or a certain person because of how they allocate dollars, you need to carry that same energy down the ballot, because those same dollars that filter into your local community, your local elected officials are the ones who decide how those dollars are advocated. And I'm going to use my county as an example here as well. Um, President Biden passed some historic transformative legislation in the American Rescue Plan, where he gave every city and county in America money based on their population. So my county got $5.385 million from the federal government. And if I can speak on political parties for just a moment,
Yes,
President
absolutely.
Biden and his administration is a Democratic administration. And they are allocating these dollars, and they're saying, hey, this is how it can be spent. This money was supposed to be used to bring us back on par with where we were prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and to even improve if we can. So when this money was filtered down to my board in particular, my board is predominantly Republican run. So a lot of those dollars that would have been spent in a more democratic way from this Democratic administration that actually passed those dollars down, I know that Joe Biden did not give us $5.385 million for us to spend half or a little over half of it on roads, especially when he also passed an infrastructure bill, which was also historic and transformative, so that we can invest in the roads, bridges, and highways of America. That money also came down, and the people of Peach County were gracious enough to pass our first countywide T-Splosh,
Hmm.
which also took care of roads. So why are we spending a little over half of this money on roads when we have all of this other money? But guess what? When you don't vote down ballot, and I've had people complain to me about how these monies were spent, and some of those people that complained to me did not vote, or they voted for someone who actually voted for those dollars to be spent in a way that they don't want them spent. We've got to train ourselves to vote an agenda that is along with what we want to see done, versus voting for someone we like. These elections are not homecoming queen elections. We're
Hmm.
not voting for the prettiest girl, the frilliest girl, or whatever it is. We're voting for someone who is going to carry out the mission of the people. We should be voting for someone who's going to set an agenda that is people based, people focused, and also set by the people. That's who we need to be voting for. We
And
do
not with
not.
any biases, as
Exactly.
far as like any parties, or, bias as far as like demographics, where the money's going to be spent.
Exactly. So it's way more important than people even realize.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Commissioner, because it's important that we educate people, because some people just don't know. They be like, well, I didn't know that, or
Right.
whatever. And so what are some ways that people can find out information on what they need to know for their voting rights, what they need to know for upcoming primaries? I know Peach County has their system, but most counties kind of elect systems, similar to like what we have at Peach County. And so give us some insight on what people can do and those who are reluctant in voting this election year. Give us some closing remarks on that, as well as far as how you would press people in that area of voting and how important this election is. Because I was talking to my children about the election, and particularly my son, because he's getting ready he's interested in law school, and he's getting ready to do an intern at the one of the senator's office for the summer here. And so he's very adamant about wanting to know what's going on. And because my job is so connected right now to the budget and what I do with the budget and how funds are allocated or whatever. So I'm trying to educate him on some of those things, so he'll have a kind of enlightenment of it before he starts in the senator's office. Because it's going to be a big part of this year. And, because he's going to be working there during an election year, I want him to know some of the things that he'll probably need to know, or he'll be hearing and he'll be able to understand. So, give us some insight, some of our listeners, some insight as well on those things that people need to know and be educated on, especially this year, an important election year. Because we're up against some tough things right now. We got a previous president who's up under a lot of indictments, who's already put it out there that he's going to be on a pretty much a revenge tour if he's reelected. And I don't think people take in consideration what that means. That's a national security alert to me as a federal employee at my level. To me, when I hear that, that's a national security level to me. For somebody to say, if I'm elected as president, I'm coming after such and such and such and such and such and such. To me, that's a national security alert for me. And I feel like we need to take things like that very serious now. So when it comes November, we're not sitting there saying the shoulda, woulda, couldas. So give us some insight on that, man.
So one of the things that people can do is, at the local level, if you're unable to attend your local meetings, a lot of them are live streamed. So go back and look at the archives, or call your local governments and find out where these meetings are located online. Go back and watch those meetings. If you are in a rural community that does not have any form of live streaming for those meetings, ask for those meeting minutes. Pay attention to how the people you've elected, or the people that represent you, whether you voted for them or not, pay attention to how they vote on these issues. Also, practically every local government, and of course the federal government, has websites. Go on those websites and pay attention to some of the things that they're saying are important. Also, go on your party's website. Your party should have some information about different things that they're pushing, whatever their platform is as a party. You can also go to various candidates and various elected officials' websites and see what it is they're talking about. A lot of them are on social media, and they'll put various things out there about what they're doing in the community, or things that they would like to do. Sometimes they even ask questions. I know I've asked questions before in the past about what the citizens would like to see. Also, pick up the phone and call your elected officials. It may sound like a long shot, but guess what? You can pick up that phone, and you can even call your senators. You can call, everybody has an office. Call their office. Sometimes if they're in the office, they'll get the phone right then and there. Sometimes they may call you back, or a representative may call you back. But I remember being very young. I think I was an adult because I was married and I had children. And before I was married to Vince, the first husband I had was in the military. And I remember someone saying that, Congress makes all these decisions for the military and all this stuff. Well, I had an issue on base, and I called the senator. We were living in Hawaii at the time. Do you know that senator called me back like that same day? Yeah. And we talked, and I was very transparent, and it went very well. I was really shocked because, of course, I grew up knowing I could call my city councilman or county commissioner, because you see them in the grocery store, at church, they live next door to you or whatever. But I was really shocked that, I got that call back. But they do call back your state officials, whether they're your state representatives, state senators, they call back as well. Email them. You'll get a response. So, be communicative with them, is what I'm saying. Whether it's, kind of passive by viewing their websites and social media posts, or you're looking for an actual exchange of information by questioning them. Also, when you see things come up, don't be afraid to tell them, hey, I want you to vote no for that, or I want you to support this. Those things are important because these people represent us. And how else do they know what's on our minds if we don't tell them? I tell my constituents all the time, if you don't tell me, I don't know. I have a group of constituents who are very faithful about coming to the various county meetings anytime something is about to go on in their neighborhood. And guess what? Whatever it is they tell me they want, if it's legal and feasible, I do it. Especially if nobody else has spoken up and said that they don't want it or that they do want it. So even though I have a kind of wide constituency as far as demographics, if only one set of people are showing up and telling me something, I'm going to do what they want. Because guess what? I represent them as well. I represent all of us. So if you want me to do something, you got to tell me. Otherwise, I'm going to guess. And hopefully, I'll get the guess right, and it aligns with what they want. But I love feedback. I love when my constituents call me, text me, inbox me. I was in the yard the other day and one stopped by and, was just talking in the yard. But I personally like the interaction. And I think that anybody who enjoys what they're doing and is actually serving the people, they would appreciate the same.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think it's important that our people know that not just women and not just Blacks, but I think everybody knows the importance of their votes. Your vote is your voice. Whatever party you attach to or what have you, your vote is your voice. And if we don't take it serious, the wrong people elected can take that choice away from us. And as women, because we're celebrating Women History Month, we have not always had that right to vote as women. And so I definitely want to advocate for women, especially if they're in our listening audience. If they have not registered to vote, please get out there and vote, because we have not always had the right to vote. So we don't ever want, if they're taking our reproductive rights today, it might be our voting rights tomorrow. If they have gone back to, turn the pages back on certain things and rights that women have already, what make you think that they won't take away certain things become the future, especially if we are a united force, that we're making our voice known and heard. They're going to try to silence you. They're going to try to make a difference. And if the wrong people elected get in positions of power to do so, they will do that. We've seen that happen when we've seen Roe versus Wade. So we got to be active. So ladies, if you're listening on this podcast, if you heard Commissioner Howell tell you the importance of it, get active, find out, educate yourselves, get with your local and your city and county commissioners and find out some things that you need to know on a local level, and then they'll educate you and give you the resources and give you the right directions, going up to the state levels and federal levels for voting information and registration and rights and stuff like that. So let's not sit in silence and ignorance and say, well, I didn't know. But, there's resources and people out there who wants to educate you. And those who have Commissioner Howell for post 2, you have someone who will educate you. Like if you don't know, look, we was planning to do a 25-30 minute interview. We did almost a whole hour because I like to pull from her because she has so much in her and she pours out so much because she's really passionate about what she do. She's passionate about the people she serves. And so, and I want that to be seen and heard from not just her constituents, but the people on our podcast who may not know who she is and might want to, serve up under her or offer their, help. Hey, let me know what you need help in, in the Democratic Party or whatever, you got going on in the different roles and capacities that she works and serve in. So Miss Shanita Wilkerson Howell, I am so glad that you took the opportunity to let Chit Chat Podcast interview you. We are definitely a platform for women where we're here to support, educate, motivate, encourage all women, everyday women to do the things that they need to do and to progress forward. I wanted to share the Women History Month colors that represents the Women History Month as purple, green, and white. White represents purity. The green symbolizes hope and new beginnings. And the purple represents justice and dignity. So, yeah. So all those colors are the colors that represent Women History Month for the observation of March. So when you see people in those colors, now that you'll know what those colors represent, but also what they represent is so important for all of us to continue to progress and to move forward as a gender, as a womanhood kind of thing. So we got work to do. We still got work to do. We haven't arrived, but we're definitely pushing forward with people like Commissioner Howell, who's standing there in the gap for us and speaking on our behalf and doing the things she's doing and serving. So thank you so much for that. Any last remarks that you want to leave us with before we close out?
I do want to say that, I see a lot of younger women talking about being a girl's girl. And I was like, well, what's a girl's girl? And when I found out what a girl's girl was, I was like, okay, I'm one of those. And I want all women to be a girl's girl. So I know that we're adults now, so I'm not going to say a girl's girl. I want all women to be a woman's woman. When we're going to the polls, think about other women as you cast that ballot. When we're out and about in the community, think about other women and see how you can help. Let's all be a girl's girl, a woman's woman, and just really take care of one another. That's not leaving men out. That's not saying don't take care of men or your man, but be a girl's girl or a woman's woman. It would take us all so much further, and it would also help solidify that quote that you gave at the beginning. I don't want to mess it up. The one about taking care of women and bringing about progress.
Oh, the theme.
Yes, the theme.
Yeah, the international thing is invest in women, accelerate progress.
Yes, let's all be a girl's girl or a woman's woman and do exactly that.
And ditto. I echo and piggyback off of that. Invest, and that's how we would definitely close it out. Invest in women, accelerate progress. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want not only March to represent us investing in women and accelerating progress, we want it to be 365 days of the year. 366 this year since we got leap year, but we definitely want to make sure every day is a day that we're advocating for ourselves as women. We're taking that time to have self-care, that we're able to provide, more in serving and giving and doing for others and and the things that we're doing when we're fueled up with the right stuff and we're united and we're united as a force. I always say there's no hood like a womanhood or
That's right.
motherhood. That's one of the strongest hoods you can ever be part of, because when we're a force, a united front and we're a force to be reckoned with. When mothers stick together, when women stick together, it's definitely you talking about progression. Look, we can take over the world,
We can.
literally.
We
So,
can.
but thank you again, Commissioner Howell. I appreciate your time with Chit Chat Podcast, where we chat all things women. Please make it your business to come back to us. Maybe closer to the election time, we'll have you come back and give us some kind of analytics on what you think about how things are going as we see things progress with the election.
Thank you for having me. And I really would look forward to that. We probably should have done something after the State of the Union, but I actually just watched it yesterday because I was busy.
Look, we talked about it at my dinner last night because my boss and my coworkers was at my dinner, and my cousin had brought it up. He's getting ready to retire from the Navy, and he said if there was any doubt for people when it came to President Biden, that
Yes.
State of the Union address should have taken care of your doubt with no
Yeah.
problems. So, there's people, in the media, and there's other people going to try to play it and make it seem like, we still need some cognitive tests and all this kind of stuff. If there was any doubt, because that man spoke from his speech, if there was any doubt, and the comeback and the clapbacks he had, if there was any doubts, go back and look at that State of the Union address and take care of that doubt that you have right now.
I didn't have any doubts, but and I was gonna vote for him. I was, but I did have a little reluctance because I was like, oh my God, I thought we were gonna try to find somebody else, But you know what? I'm riding with Biden.
Oh, absolutely.
Riding with
Absolutely.
full force, with no hesitancy, with zeal. I'm riding with Biden.
Yeah, I just want to be at a place where we can get back to some normalcy. There's not no division. There's not no place where people are on a revenge tour. I mean, we're grown people. We got to be able to respond and get back to the business of not only the American people, but the people who are serving and providing sources. We talked about allocations and stuff.
Yeah.
We can't allocate nothing when there's no budget passed.
Exactly.
And I'm a budget person. So when there's no budget pass, we can't allocate anything. And so, it's important when we, talk about these elections and people having a right to know what they need to know when they're casting their votes, because, when it's times like this, it affects not only, what's going on at that house, it affects our house because it affects your livelihood. If the government shuts down, people are, so many people in the government depends on that to take care of their families. So, so we have to be informed as voters and be in tune to the things like the State of the Union address, so we can kind of get information for ourselves firsthand and make informed decisions for ourselves and not listening to the media and other biases platforms that can push us in other directions. But thank you again. We appreciate you. I would look forward to having you again sometime this remainder of this year as we continue on in this election year. You provide so much insight and so much education. So we were glad to have you back, and we'll get that scheduled sometime later this year based on your schedule.
I really enjoyed it.
Okay, well, thank you. Have a blessed rest of your weekend.